Yeah, so as I had, this is a continuation of when I talked about Titus, when just the flip of the page before that, you got 2 Timothy 3:16 talking about how in the last days, the perilous times will come, to be lovers of self, will be unthankful, unruly, lovers of natural affection, just really a whole bastion of evil, unruly things. And then you switch over to Titus, and he's talking about things that are going to take place. You find Paul, this was like just before he was executed. He's given this warning to Timothy and also to Titus. And he had just talked in Corinthians about how he had once had water baptized, but he no longer did. So when you look in Titus, you see the this idea of Jewish myths. And if you really think about, say, like water baptism, that's a Jewish myth. It never was to be brought into the New Testament. We act like John the Baptist invented water baptism. He didn't. His whole premise and his whole idea of what he was to do is to be a forerunner to Christ. And would say he was to be a forerunner to Christ of water baptized, even though he did water baptize Christ, but that was for a different reason. And Jesus even says it's good for us to be here, because Jesus had to be under the whole idea of the Jew going to the cross to be the final sacrifice. So the big tiff between Peter and Paul was over this idea. Peter was trying to make Gentiles do Jewish things, and that was the big tiff. Okay, so if you go back over to Titus, he was warning the people, look, don't be following Jewish myths. All the ins and outs of it was really something that Paul really was adamant about. Why? I'm not real sure, but you can see that he was pretty adamant that they were not to do Jewish myths or Jewish things and force them on Gentiles. That could be one of the big deceptions. We don't know. Also, when it comes to, say, the tithe is another Jewish idea to keep the temple up, and it was meant to maintain. Of course, they didn't have, street sweepers there. They didn't have any of that at that time. The church was the government, so it was the whole idea was that was their way of getting funds to maintain the temple. There's a lot we can talk about. Even the Passover. It says in 1 Corinthians 5:9 that Jesus is the Passover. So, I mean, when we say that to a Jewish person, that Jesus became the Passover, of course he thinks of it as a Passover Seder. He thinks of it as a meal. There's a different aspect. To a Christian, we should be a little bit more savvy to what's going on there, because he's not talking about having communion. He became the communion. He became the Passover. Passover. He became the final sacrifice. So as Christians after the cross, we should view a lot of this with a question mark, because it's something that Paul was adamant about. Don't follow Jewish myths. Don't do the things. Don't follow the feasts. Don't make Gentiles do Jewish things. You're talking about circumcision. Circumcision in America is just, that's just an everyday thing. The doctors will go ahead and cut the foreskins off as just a cleanliness type setup. I'm not real sure how that all came about, but there's a reason why a circumcision is so prevalent in our culture. It was a Jewish thing. It was a cutting of the foreskin to seal the individual into the Jewish faith. So there's a lot to think about what I just said here, and pray about it, and we'll talk to you some other time. Thank you.